Here we go. This is our review for the final exam. Number 1, 1 over 7 plus 1 over 3. So we know in order to add fractions, you got to get a common what? Denominator. So between 7 and 3, what's the common denominator? 21. Good, 21. So you can do it in stack form. I don't know if this is probably how we showed it at the beginning of the semester. But 21 is that common denominator. And so you're going to make each fraction equivalent to 21 on the bottom. So when I look at 7 divides into 21 how many times? 3. And then you got to multiply 3 times the top, which makes that 3 over 21. Do you see it's the same fraction? I didn't change it. I just made it in equivalence to 21 on the bottom. 3 over 21 still reduces to 1 over 7. Does that make sense? Then I do the exact same thing with the bottom one. 3 will divide into 21 how many times? 7, but 7 times 1 is still 7. And so once they are in the same denominator, then you can just straight add the what? Tops. So 3 plus 7 is what? 10 over 21. Do y'all remember that? Can you cross multiply? Technically, no. That's not legal. It'll work with those ones up there, but that's technically not the legal way. Okay. Number 2. It says perform the operation, write the fractions in lowest terms. So we got 4 over 9 divided by negative 12 over 13. So with division, you got to remember to do what? Flip which one? The second one. Good. We got to flip the second one. Very good. So we keep the 4 over 9. We actually change it to multiplication because you're going to do the same thing. But this is going to be 13. And you can keep the negative at the top. Over 12. Just make sure the 13 is on top and the 12 is on the bottom. Don't focus on the negative. That whole fraction is negative. Okay? So in other words, really, you can just bring the negative over. Because you know a negative times a positive is going to be a what? A negative. So don't want you to focus on where I put that negative. You just need to make sure that you flipped 13 and 12. Okay? Now, you can multiply top times top and bottom times bottom, or you can cross cancel. And that's one of the things I did show, was that if you got something in common, you can reduce it within instead of reducing it at the end. Okay? You could say 4 goes into 12 3 times, and it leaves a 1 there. And so that would give us a negative 13 on top, and 9 times 3 is what? 27 on the bottom. Okay? Now you could multiply 4 times negative 13 straight out. And that would give you a negative what? 52. Over 9 times 12 is what? 108. And then you would have to reduce that. Does everybody understand? You would have to reduce that fraction. And the common factor between 52 and 108 would be what? Did anybody do it the long way? Because this is technically the long way. 13 is the common factor?
I'm at 4.
4. Okay, I was like, I don't think 13 is. 4 is that common factor. So 4 into 52 gives you that negative 13. And 4 into 108 gives you that 27. Okay? But you might have to come on the side and do your, you see what I'm saying, your division. Does everybody understand that? So that's why we show canceling within, because it might be easier than reducing it with bigger numbers. Does that make sense? But both ways will give you negative 13 over 27. Does everybody have any questions? No? Yes? Okay. Number 3. Simplify. We got 4, open bracket, 5 squared minus 3 times 2 plus 5 in parentheses, close bracket. So this is what? Order of operation type stuff. So what are we going to do first? Parentheses, okay. Inside this parenthesis, we're going to do 2 plus 5, which is what? 7. Okay. So we got 5 squared minus 3 times 7. If I just rewrite all my steps, okay? Then what? Okay. And what else you need to do? Have y'all already reduced? The exponent. Go ahead and get, I'm going to walk that way. Go ahead and get that done too. 5 squared, we know is what? 25. And yes, I can go ahead and multiply negative 3 times 7, right? That would make that a negative 21. Good. Now what? Subtract. Clean out that bracket. Good. 25 minus 21 is 4. Brackets are gone because I ain't got but one number left. And now what do? Multiply, good, the 4 times 4, which gives us 16. Very good. Y'all know to leave that 4 on the outside alone. That's the last step you do. Clean up that inside. Very good. 16. Okay? Number 4, we got 5x plus 2xy, and x is negative 2, y is positive 3. So we're going to straight plug it in, plug those numbers in. 5 times negative 2 plus 2 times negative 2 times 3. And what I plugged in, I put in parentheses. Do y'all see that? So the first thing we're going to do is what? Multiply. We're going to multiply the 5 times negative 2. And then we're going to need to multiply all of that together. Does that make sense? So what's 5 times negative 2? Negative 10. Then we're going to do it in steps if you want to. 2 times negative 2 is a what? Negative 4. Times that 3 is a what? A negative 12. Now, if you want to put plus a negative 12, that's fine. But you have the same sign. 10 is negative. 12 is negative, so you do what? Add, and that makes that a what? A negative 22. Very good. Does everyone see that? Questions? Still good? 4/5, and we're going to raise it to the second power. So that's just straight put the 2 on the 4 and put it on the 5. So what is 4 squared? 16. What's 5 squared? 25. That's your answer. Does that make sense? Okay. Perform the operation. Negative 5 plus 9. Do you add or subtract? Subtract, because you got different signs. Good. So what would that give us? Positive 4. Very good. Positive 4. Do y'all see that? Okay. 7 says perform the operation. Negative 6 times negative 2. Negative times a negative. is a positive, and it's a positive what? 12. Very good. 8, you got 7 over 0. What we know about 0 on the bottom of any fraction? Very good. It's undefined. You cannot have 0 on the bottom. Did y'all have that? Y'all got that? Good. Undefined. Okay. Simplify the expression. 3, open parenthesis, x plus 6, close it, minus, open parenthesis, x minus 3. Okay, now what are they trying to see if you can do here? When you got a number outside of parentheses? Distribute. They're trying to, you got to do distributive property. Very good. You're going to distribute the 3 to both things inside, and then we're going to distribute negative 5 to both things inside the second one. So when we distribute, that's multiplication, right? So 3 times x, good. 3 times 6, 18, good. Then negative 5 times x, good. And negative 5 times negative 3, good. Now, can we combine? Can we clean it up? We got 3x minus 5x. A negative 2x. Does everybody see that? We're going to subtract because it's different signs. 3 is positive, 5 is negative. We subtract. And it's going to stay negative because 5 is bigger, right? Then you're going to combine 18 plus 15. What is that? Positive 33? Questions? Very good. Does everyone see how they want you to simplify? Distribute and then combine like terms. Okay? 10, we got an equation. 5x minus 2 equals 13. Starting small. If we're solving for x and we want to get that by itself, who has to move first? Negative 2. Very good. So we're going to keep 5x on this side. And when I bring negative 2 over here with the 13, it becomes a what? A positive. Awesome. So we have 5x equals 13 plus 2 is 15. And then what we do? Divide by 5. Good. And so x equals 3. Very good. X equals 3. Questions? Still okay? Okay. 11, we have 3, open parenthesis, x minus 4, close it, plus 4x equals 5, open parenthesis, x plus 2. Okay, another equation. Just gave you a little bit more meat in it. We're going to do what first? Distribute. Very good. So we're going to distribute 3 times x, 3x, 3 times negative 4, negative 12, plus 4x equals 5x plus 10. And then on my left side, can I combine? Before I start moving stuff, you need to combine what you can on each side. On the left, I can say 3x plus what? 4x, which is 7x. Good. Bring down to minus 12 equals 5x plus 10. And now I can switch sides. I'm going to bring 5x over, and when I do that, it becomes a negative, good, equals, bring down 10. When I bring negative 12 over, it becomes a positive. Awesome. So 7x minus 5x is 2x equals 22. Then we divide by 2, x equals 11. Awesome. Y'all see that? Okay. We have an inequality. X plus 7 is less than 15. So how do we solve for x? Just like we do equations. What are we going to do? Move 7. And when I move it, it becomes a negative 7. Good. What's 15 minus 7? 8. Very good. So x is less than 8. Do y'all see it? Very simple. One step inequality. Now, if you need to draw your number line, you can if that helps you with your interval. But you're only looking for the interval because it's multiple choice, okay? But if I did my number line, we're going to shade left or right. Left, right? Because doesn't it say less than? It's pointing to the left. So you're shading all the stuff that's smaller than 8, right? So do you have a bracket or parenthesis on 8? Which one? Parenthesis, right? Because we only put a bracket when it has a what? The equal bar. Y'all got another difference. If it does not have an equal bar, you put a parenthesis. If it has an equal bar, we put a bracket. Okay? So this one doesn't have one, so we got a parenthesis. Now, if you're reading that shade, everything smaller than 8 has to come first. So what would that represent? What symbol? Negative infinity. Good. And we're going to stop it at what? At 8. Both in parentheses. Does that make sense? That's the answer choice they want you to pick. Negative infinity to 8. Questions? No? Okay. 13. We got negative 6x is less than negative 18. Divide by negative 6. What's the rule for division with a negative? Very good. You do have to change that sign. Flip it. Turn it the other direction. So x is not going to be less than. It's going to be what? Greater than. What's? Positive 3. Very good. Do y'all see that? Now, if you need to, just like on the last one, if you need to draw your number line, that's fine. But that says x is greater. Your sign is pointing towards the right. So if you shade it, that would be everything bigger than 3. That's your answer. What symbol would have to go on 3? Parenthesis. Good. So if you're writing the notation, this time your notation is going to start with what number? 3. And we're going to go to what? Positive infinity. Very good. Because it's everything bigger than 3. Does that make sense? And you're in parentheses. Very good. Okay. 14. 3 over 5x plus 2 is less than or equal to 1 over 2x plus 3. Gave you a fraction inequality. But we work fractions like we did with equations. How do I make them disappear? How? Multiply what? What are you multiplying? What do I need to make it disappear? Multiplying is in place, but what do I need? Common what? Common denominator? Least common denominator? We need something that can clear out those two fractions, okay? So when you look at 5 and 2, what number do they both go into? 10. They both go into 10. Does it make sense? I need something big enough to make it go away. You follow me? So 10 is your common denominator. We're going to multiply 10 by every term. Remember, we talked about this. We're going to multiply by every term. How many terms up here? 4. Very good, 4. So you're going to multiply 10 by the fraction, by the 2, by the fraction, and by 3. Don't just do the fractions. It has to be every term. 2 and 3 are also terms. Does everybody see that? Now, when you multiply by 10 on the fraction, you're multiplying the top by 10. Then we got to use the bottom by division, okay? So that first fraction is really 30 over what? 5. What is 30 over 5? 6. Very good. And don't forget it has an X on it. So bring that down. Do y'all see what I did? Okay? Plus, now that's just straight multiply. 2 times 10 is what? 20. Good. Less than or equal to, now this would be 10 over 2, right? Which is what? 5. Good. And bring down that X. Plus 30. Very good. Do y'all see that? That's what I would recommend. Get rid of those fractions. And then you have a regular equation. Get your variables on one side, whole numbers on the other. So when I bring 5x over, it becomes negative. Less than or equal to, bring down 30. When I take 20 over, it becomes a negative. Good. So 6x minus 5x, x is less than or equal to 10. Y'all see that? Now, on your number line, you would put 10, and this time, would we shade to the left or to the right? To the left. So everything smaller than 10 is going to be your answer. Bracket or parenthesis? Bracket. Very good, because it has the equal bar. So your notation has to start with what if we talk about smaller than 10? Negative infinity, right? And it's going to stop at what? 10. But 10 has a what on it? Bracket, and you have a parenthesis on your negative infinity. Do y'all see that? Questions?
The parentheses will never have the infinity, negative or positive never have a bracket.
Never. You always put a parenthesis. Good, I was going to say that. Good point. You always going to put a parenthesis on your infinity signs. Negative or positive. You never put a bracket on it. That bracket will only go on the number. Okay? Now, I do want to make this insert. What if your problem looked more like this one? Now, you do have fractions, and I do want you to clear them out, but how many terms do you have? 2. I don't want you to take your common denominator and multiply it inside. This is one term, and this is one term. You only going to multiply that common denominator to the fraction outside. Does that make sense? What would the common denominator be? 10 and 6, what would they both go into? No, they both. When I say common denominator, it's got to be at least 10 or bigger to make it disappear. Not what they have in common. What do they go into?
Maybe 30.
30, good, good. 60 would work, but that's big. 30 going to be the first one. Does that make sense? I would multiply these two fractions by 30. Do y'all see that? So technically this one is what? 90 over 10? Which would give what? What number? 9. And you got your parentheses. It's greater than 30 over 6, which is 5 in your parentheses. Does everybody see that? Does everybody understand? I just multiplied 30 on the front of those two terms, not in those parentheses. And then you got a regular inequality. You're going to distribute, and that would give us 9x plus 45 is greater than 5x plus what? 25. And we're going to switch sides. 9x minus 5x is greater than 25 minus 45. So that's 4x is greater than what? Negative 20. And then you divide by 4. X is greater than what? Negative 5. Do y'all see that? And we'll finish it on out. If you got negative 5 and it says greater, you know that you're shading it to the right. That means everything bigger than negative 5 is your answer. Bracket or parenthesis? Parenthesis. And so how would that interval start? What do we start with? Negative 5 going to what? Positive infinity. Both in parentheses. Very good. Do y'all see that? The one on your test looks more like this one. Okay? And that's why I want to make sure you knew the difference between your terms. Okay? 15. Fifteen says, choose the correct slope and y-intercept for the line. And the line is y equals 3x minus 4. So that's in slope-intercept form, right? Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So what number is your slope? What's m? 3. Very good. That's the slope. Okay? And what number is your y-intercept? Negative 4. Very good. That's the y-intercept. So when you're looking at choices, you got to know that m means slope. So it's going to say m equals 3. And the y-intercept needs to be in a point form. So if I'm looking for an ordered pair, make sure you know where your number's supposed to be. This is x and this is y. Y-intercept means negative 4 got to be in the what spot? Right. The right spot, the y spot, which would be here. Does that make sense? Who's in the front? 0. Very good. Okay, so make sure you know that order pair is 0, negative 4 for a y-intercept. Y'all see that? Okay. 16 says find the slope. You will be given that formula, so you don't have to memorize the slope formula. You'll be given that formula on test for finding the slope of these 2 points. Okay, x, y, x, y. And the formula just simply says subtract your y's over your x's. Okay, so when you plug it in, you got negative 1 minus a negative 8. And we already know, before I go to the bottom, these 2 negatives are going to become a what? A positive. Okay, good. And then on the bottom, I'm just plugging in. I got 4 minus a negative 2, which they will also make a what? Positive. So you really have negative 1 plus 8 over 4 plus 2. And what's negative 1 plus 8? 7. And what's 4 plus 2? 6. And it doesn't reduce. So your slope is 7 over 6.
I might not be, I guess with the
Watch for stuff like that, okay? Make sure you know, okay, does it have a negative, does it have a positive? Because both answers might be sitting there. Does everybody see that on the slope formula? Okay. 17, what is the slope for a line of the, what is the slope of the line in the y equals 2? That's a funny way of saying that. What's the slope of that line? Now, first of all, that's a special line. What kind of line is y equals 2? What type of line is it, though? Horizontal, right? And all horizontal lines have a what? Zero slope. Y'all got to remember that. This is a horizontal line. And all of them have zero slopes. Okay? So your M is 0. Questions? Okay. 18 says find the x and y intercepts of the line 4x minus y equals 4. Okay. If I'm looking for x-intercepts, we're going to let y be 0. Awesome. You always let the other variable be 0. So we're going to let y be 0. So that would be 4x. If I put in 0 for that y, technically it's gone. So you don't have to write that. You just know that's going to be 4x equals 4. So what's x? 1. Okay? Now, if you look at your choices, they're in ordered pair form. So this is for x-intercept. If it says x equals 1, how does the point go? 1 and then 0. Very good. The 1 needs to be in the x spot. You let y be 0, that's 0 in the y spot. Does that make sense? So that's the x-intercept. When I'm looking for my y-intercept, I'm going to let x be 0. Very good. I'm going to let x be 0. So when I let x be 0, that's technically gone. So you just got negative y equals 4. We divide by negative 1. And y equals a what? Negative 4. So how we put that one in an ordered pair? 0 and then negative 4. Very good. Does everyone see that? When you're looking for intercepts, you always let the other one be 0. Question on 18. Okay. 19 says simplify. And we got 4x to the 4th, y to the 5th, and then we're going to raise it to the 2nd power. So that means I'm going to do power to power, meaning it's kind of like distributive property. There's an understood 1 on that 4, and we're going to multiply that 2 times every exponent inside, right? So that would give us 4 to the 2nd power, x to the 8th power, and y to the what? 10th power. Now when you look at your answer choices, they have already simplified 4 squared. What is 4 squared? 16. So you're looking for the choice that's going to say 16, x to the 8th, and y to the 10th. Does everyone see that? 20. 9 to the 0 power equals what? Equals what? 1. Anything to the 0 power equals what? 1. Very good. (21) Simplify by writing the expression with positive exponents. So if you have this expression and your x to the negative fourth is on top, y negative fifth is on the bottom with z seventh, what must you do to make it positive? Move. Good. We're going to move the 2 that's negative? Awesome. So what would be on top? Y to the fifth, what's on the bottom? X to the fourth and z to the seventh. It doesn't move because it wasn't negative. Does everybody see that? You just simply move the 2 that's negative. Okay. 22 says, let's perform the indicated operation. We got 3x squared plus 7x minus 2 in the first parenthesis, minus, in the second parenthesis, x squared plus 4x minus 1. So when you're adding and subtracting polynomials and there's a dead negative in between them, you got to do what? Okay, you're going to put a 1, but you're going to distribute good that negative inside. You got to change the signs of that second one. Does everybody understand that? So that becomes a negative x squared, a negative 4x, and what type of 1? Positive. Very good. Now, if you want to bring that first one right under it, you can. It doesn't change what? It didn't change signs. If that helps you combine it better. Okay? But you're going to end up having a negative 1, because that's understood, negative 1, plus 3 is what? 2x squared? Right? When you combine? Then you got a negative 4 plus 7 is a what? Positive 3x. And then what's 1 minus 2? Negative 1. Very good. And that's your answer. So you just combining them. The only thing I want to make sure you know is that second one has to change what? Signs. Does that make sense? Now 23. 23 is just like 22, except it's a plus sign. So you don't have to change anything. You just need to combine it as it is. Does that make sense? You have in the first parenthesis 11x squared minus 5x plus 3 plus x squared plus 5x minus 4. So if you want to put it underneath one another, it doesn't matter. But don't change nobody's sign. They stay like they are. So 11 plus this understood 1 is a what? 12x squared? What happens to your 5s? They cancel out. Then you just have 3 minus 4, which is a what? Negative 1. And that's your answer. 12x squared minus 1. Do y'all see that? And you have to be careful. Do you see they got these minus 10x and plus 10x? You got to know that the x is technically canceled out. Okay? Now you got to know your sign rules. Okay? 24. 3x to the third times 4x squared plus 5x minus 2. So we're going to distribute. This is product, this is multiplication. But when you multiply the whole numbers, you're going to do what with your exponents? Add. Very good. Make sure you know you got to add those exponents. So that's going to give us 12 x what? 5. right? Plus 15x to the fourth, good. Minus 6x to the third. Very good. Y'all see that? Okay. 25. 7x plus 2 times x minus 3.
Why we can't combine?
Combine what? Which one? You back on number
They
24?
all have it.
On 24? All right. Now, number 25, there is no sign in between, so this is straight multiplication. All right? We're going to take 7x and we're going to multiply it times both things in the second. Then we're going to turn around and take 2 and multiply him times the second. And then combine if we can, okay? So what's 7x times x? 7x squared, good. 7x times negative 3? Negative 21x. Okay, that's multiplying by 7x. Now multiply by 2. 2 times x, 2x. 2 times negative 3? Negative 6. And I can combine the x terms. Y'all see that? The single x. So I bring down my 7x squared. What's negative 21 plus 2? Negative 19x. And I bring down my negative 6. Y'all see that? Okay. 26, they give you x minus 5 squared. We really doing the same what? Thing. You just got it how many times? Twice. You still got to multiply. Okay, so we're going to multiply by x, and then we turn around and multiply by negative 5. So x times x, x squared, x times negative 5, negative 5x. Now multiply by negative 5 times x, and then a positive 25. And when you combine, now make sure you don't get tripped up because your x's don't cancel. They add up, which makes a negative 10x, good. Plus 25. Very good. Do y'all see that? Okay. 27, we got x minus 7 times x plus 7. We're doing the exact same thing. We're still multiplying. Does everybody understand that? X times x is what? X squared. X times 7. Then negative 7 times x. And negative 7 times positive 7. Negative 49. And so this time, though, what happens to your x's? They cancel. So I want to make sure y'all see that this cancels out because they are different. So you just have x squared minus what? 49, okay? Don't get confused on 26 and 27 because they're going to put them back to back. When you got the same thing, you double, okay? It don't cancel out when it's the same. The only way it can cancel is if it's different. Does everybody understand that? That means your middle gonna cancel out. Questions on 26 or 27? No? 28, we got 18x squared plus 4x. And it says state the greatest common factor. That's all they want to know. What's the GCF? 2x. Very good. That's the biggest number between 18 and 4. And they both got an x. Does everybody understand that? So 2x is your GCF. Okay? (29) wants you to factor x squared plus 5x minus 24. So our rule says, what are we doing to get 5x? We're subtracting. Awesome. So we're going to do 2 parentheses. What's at the front? X. And what two numbers from 24 did you use? 8 and 3. Very good. Now, if we got 8x and 3x, right? We know that's going to make 5. But if 5 is positive, who has to be positive? 8. 3 is going to be what? Negative. Very good. So they want you to pick the right factor pair. So out of their choices, it would be the x plus 8. But do you see how 8 and 3, we know them the ones you use. You really got to make sure your signs are right. You got to factor it because B and D could be possible. It depends on the signage. Does that make sense? So you got to make sure this is right. Does everybody understand that? Okay. 30, they want you to factor 9x squared minus 49. Now that's a difference of squares, right? That's the easy factor. What's the square root of 9? 3. So we got 3 x's at the front. What's the square root of 49? 7. And one is, and the other one is. So the one that they want you to match is the 3x minus 7. Does that make sense? Okay. 31. We're going to factor x squared plus 3x minus 10.
My 31 is different.
He's hitting on the 30.
Thank you. This one right here is 31. I skipped 30, right? So this one is 30, my bad. Okay. 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. I'll get on track. Now, when you start having numbers in the front, always ask yourself if you got a what? Greatest common factor. And we don't, because 11 messes it up. So we got to straight factor it. What are we doing to get 11? We're subtracting also. So we're going to do our 2 parentheses. Now in the front, you got 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And in the back, we got 1 and 10, 2 and what? 5. These are just options. So it is multiple choice. So by looking at the answers, I know I'm going to have to use 2 and 3 in the front. Does everybody agree? For 6, 2x and 3x. And in the back, we're going to use 2 and 5. But 2 can't go where? With the 2x. 2 would have to go in the back and 5 has to go in the front. The way I wrote it on my screen. Does that, y'all do remember that, okay? Then we're going to see if this is going to be right. Outside makes a 4x. My inside makes a 15. Will that make 11 if I subtract? Yes. Now 11 is positive. So between 4 and 15, who has to be positive? 15. And that was made with this 5 and 3, right? So he's positive. My 4 is negative. So that's going to match this one. 2x plus 5 on the sheet. Do y'all see that? And again, if you look at your answer choices, they're all similar. You got to make sure what's right. Those signs, okay? So take time, even if you, when you get these 2 parentheses, I would probably fold it all the way back. It's your final exam to make sure I get that middle. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Check yourself. Just check yourself. Okay. $32. I am on 32, right? x squared plus 3x minus 10. Okay. What are we doing to get the middle? Subtracting. Easy factor. X is in the front. What two numbers gonna subtract and give you 3? 5 and 2, 2 and 5. And so 2x and 5x make the 3, but 3 is positive, so who has to be positive? My 5. Good. So that one is going to match the x plus 5. And then, last but not least, 33. 4x squared plus 16xy plus 7y squared. Now, do you have a GCF? No, you don't have a GCF. So we're going to do our 2 parentheses. Now, what I would do, so I won't forget, go ahead and put x's in the what? Front. I leave a little room, you got to put some numbers up there. And put who in the back? Y. Okay, so that takes care of x squared and y squared, and the x, y in the middle. Okay? Now, what are we doing to get 16? We're adding. So, in the front, you got 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. But with 7, you ain't got no option. You only have 1 and what? 7. So I would go and put them in there. You don't have no option with them. Put them in the back by your Y's, 1 and 7. So if we're trying to add and get 16, I hope you know we're using 2 and 2. Because that makes 14, right? And 2 more would make what? 16. Very good. And everybody gonna be what? Positive also. Very good. So that one is gonna match 2x plus y. Questions?